Hello and welcome. I'm Melinda Akinlami. Tonight, panic envelops the air as 2 people are killed following an ambush on Governor Kashim Shettima's convoy by Boko Haram fighters. 2 days to D-Day and President Muhammadu Buhari, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and 71 other presidential candidates signed the second peace accord. Code of Conduct Tribunal orders a bench warrant on suspended Chief Justice of Nigeria, Walter Onnoghen, to ensure his appearance at the tribunal next Friday. And Syrian Democratic Forces say they are closing in on the terrorist group's last stronghold in the east of the country.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's capital importation drops by 25.05% to $2.14 billion in the fourth quarter of 2018, following withdrawal of portfolio investors from the country.
And on sports news tonight, the Flying Eagles of Nigeria will not win an 8 under 20 AFCON title after losing 4-3 on penalties to Mali in the semi-final.
And from Abuja, Court of Appeal in Sokoto dismisses an application challenging the disqualification of APC candidates in Zamfara State.
The state of insecurity in Borno State came face to face with the first citizen of the state. That's the governor, Kashim Shettima. As report says, his convoy was ambushed today by gunmen believed to be Boko Haram insurgents. The bandits attacked the governor's heavily guarded convoy along Logmani in Gamburu local government area and opened fire, killing 2 civilians. The governor had already passed when they opened fire, and only those in the vehicles behind were affected. Now, the governor, that's Kashim Shettima, has been campaigning with the APC governorship candidate in Mate, Damasak and Gambarungala areas of the state. The campaign trail was scheduled for a stopover in Mafe and Jere when the attack occurred. Trusted witnesses in the convoy say 2 dead bodies were conveyed back to the capital city, but it's not yet clear if there are more or injured persons. From that shocking story from Borno State, we bring you this encouraging news from Abuja that all 73 presidential candidates jostling for the nation's #1 seat have signed the second round of the National Peace Accord ahead of the general elections. The presidential candidates of the All Progressive Congress, that's President Muhammadu Buhari, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, are amongst the candidates who signed the Peace Accord at the International Conference Center in Abuja. Our correspondent, Gloria Mozekwe, was there and has this report.
Less than 72 hours to the 2019 general elections, presidential candidates signed the 2019 National Peace Accord for the second time. Here to witness are former heads of state, General Abdulsalam Abubakar and General Yakubu Gowon, former presidents of Liberia, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Reverend Father Matthew Kuka, and other members of the National Peace Committee and the International Observer Missions.
We also have with us
the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, then arrives.
as president in Africa.
President Muhammadu Buhari arrives to kickstart the event.
The chairman of the National Peace Committee.
Chairman of the National Peace Committee, General Abdulsalam Abubakar, and former head of state, Yakubu Gowon, enjoins all candidates to play by the rules.
Throughout the entire electoral and electoral process, political parties must function as effective actors for peace.
Let your people, let all Nigerians who are going to vote, let them hear you say to them and ask them, please do not have, let's not have any violence, and let us ensure a peaceful, credible election.
Commonwealth Secretary General Patricia Scotland, as well as traditional fathers, lend their voices in an appeal and expectations.
The signing today of the National Peace Accord is fully in line with those Commonwealth values. The country, the regions, the continent, and wider world are holding their breath.
We want to appeal to our politicians today to please place the survival of our nation and our people before their personal ambitions.
President Muhammadu Buhari and former Vice President Atiku Abubakar joins over 70 presidential candidates to sign the 2019 National Peace Accord. Both presidential candidates of the All Progressives Congress and the People's Democratic Party call for a peaceful process.
We, the presidential candidates, are here to sign and commit ourselves to do all that is possible to ensure the success of the elections. But most importantly, to accept the final outcome. I appeal to my fellow contestants to commit to these ideals so as to keep our country and people safe. As we go into elections in a few days' time, please let us pray for our country. I am making a special appeal to our young people. Do not allow yourselves to be used to cause violence.
For emphasis, and in the spirit of fair play, I also urge our security agencies not to embark on indiscriminate arrests of members of opposition or their supporters 24 to 48 hours before elections, as has been the case in previous by-elections. I also appeal to the President, Muhammadu Buhari, to use his good offices to ensure that every eligible person who casts their votes are confident in the process and in the belief that their votes will count.
I would like to thank you for being around.
After all said and done, Nigerians and indeed foreign observers are hopeful and expectant that the National Peace Accord will be lived up to in the coming days and beyond. Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
It's 2 days to the elections and political parties are putting pen to paper to shun violence before, during and after the polls. In this next report, our correspondent, Oreoluwa Shonibare, examines the effects of accords on Nigeria's political space.
Political season is always a charged period where parties try to outdo one another. So when the peace accord was signed by the two major political gladiators in 2015, it was designed to check any violent actions in the event election results did not meet aspirations. So how well did this work out? Many will point to the famous phone call for reference.
The path for peace.
This practice has been repeated for the 2019 elections, with parties putting pen to paper to pledge toward the achievement of peaceful elections.
This peace accord will reduce violence, will reduce election violence by 50%, if not down to 100%.
But how easy is it to keep a lead on emotions of supporters excited about seeing their candidates victorious at the polls? This is sometimes made more difficult by comments of politicians at rallies, mainly directed at opponents and taken away by over-enthusiastic party members, which has been known to lead to violence. This observation was made by the head of the Peace Committee, former head of state, retired General Abdulsalam Abubakar, at one of such peace signing ceremonies in Kano State, where he noted with some concern the level of mayhem politicians inadvertently cause with insightful statements that usually spiral out of control.
For the teeming population who are supporting the politicians of the various parties, they should please see what their principles have done today. Because the violence created out in the field is not by the principles, it's by the followers.
With the election just 2 days away, peace accords are being signed across the country, with perhaps the most standout event taking place in Abuja. Two of the frontline candidates call on politicians to ensure their supporters are kept under control.
Again, I say,
at the end of the exercise, the success of the signed accord will largely depend on how well emotions are managed during and after the polls. Oreoluwa Shonibare, Channels Television News.
To talk about the second peace accord signed by various political parties in Abuja today, we go live to our Abuja studios, where the Catholic Bishop of the Sokoto Diocese, Reverend Father Matthew Kuka, joins us to discuss this. You're welcome to the News at 10.
Thank you very much.
Bishop Kukah, you were part of the distinguished members who supervised the signing of this peace accord. From the body language of the politicians who put pen to paper, do they appear willing to accept the outcome of the election, no matter where it swings?
Well, I mean, you know what Shakespeare said, there's no art to find the mind's construction in the face. But I think that at this particular moment, when every minute and every second counts, the very fact that the president himself was gracious enough to extend the period of time that he allocated for this program, so just very clearly the level of their seriousness, and that all the other presidential contestants, that they will take a break from their campaigns just to be with us. He says, I mean, we couldn't get any better signal than that to suggest very clearly that the people who appended their signature really and truly are serious about what they've done.
And talking about their campaigns, a lot of people have cried foul because some of them have been laced with a lot of hate speeches. So what are the assurances that this exercise can guarantee peace after this process?
I think in fairness, you know, what the politicians did on the 11th of December, namely the signing of their own commitment, the first accord that was signed was to commit the contestants themselves to avoiding hate speeches, avoiding inciting comments and so on. And I think in fairness, you know, these campaigns have been, relatively speaking, peaceful. At the level of inter-party or intra-party, you know, grievances and so on, we haven't seen much in terms of the kind of clashes that have always characterized politics at this period of time. So we can say very clearly that I think in fairness, you know, the contestants really tried to keep to the principles of the accord. This second accord commits them to accepting the results of the elections, again with the proviso that the elections are seen to be free, fair, and credible. And this is why the presence of the international community and the international observers is so very much welcome. And the fact that I think, you know, from what we are hearing, Nigerians are increasingly becoming very, very alert. And this is so fundamental that in the final analysis, they are the gatekeepers of these promises. It's okay, the politicians can make the commitment, but we are the ones that must hold their feet to the fire, to the promises that they have made. So I think in fairness, we look forward to them being men, you know, men of honor, men and women of honor. We believe that their word should be their bond.
But does the National Peace Committee have the power to call them to order, just in case, and their supporters as well, if they go out of line? Because some people think that these peace pacts have little or no significance.
You know, the Peace Committee doesn't have the kind of powers that Nigerians seem to assign to it. All we have is a moral voice, and we're just a symbol of the aspirations and hopes of Nigerians for elections to be in the way and manner that the rest of the international community and everybody else in other parts of the world have come to take for granted, namely a routine rite of passage through which ordinary citizens are able to stake their claim and vote candidates of their choices. Now, we've not suspended the existing rules of the land. So when people commit offenses, the relevant government agencies are still, you know, are still there. And that is why there's been so much hue and cry about the security agencies. Our hope is that the security agencies themselves will be sufficiently neutral. They're going to sign all kinds of agreements, but in the final analysis, it is just important to make the point that, again, we go back to what President Jonathan said, namely that each and every one of us, whether you are contesting elections, nothing and absolutely nothing should be so serious that it demands the spilling of the blood of any Nigerian. So we hope that the relevant agencies will do the best that they can do. INEC has already assured Nigerians that it is fully prepared to do their job. So all we can do is, you know, hope and pray, you know, that everything goes well and that people who vote know that they have to live to tell their stories. There's no need casting a vote and you know, risking your life. And at the end of the day, people win the those who win the elections, and you end up in the grave. Our hope and prayer is that everyone who goes out on this day will come back safely to their family.
A big amen to that. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure speaking with you on the News at 10, Reverend Father Matthew Kukah.
Thank you very much for having me.
In part two, after the break, Abuja High Court grants former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Babachi Lawal, and two others 50 million naira bail each, and their standing trial over alleged diversion of funds. Please stay with us for the details.